Slendy, Ego, Slendy, ayy. Hit it out the park. Hit him with a strike. From the national anthem to the bottom of the night. I'm in Slendy, Ego, Slendy, Ego, Slendy, Ego, Slendy, ayy. You already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 491 of the Talking fWAR podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here. It is October 16th, 2023. The ALCS is underway. NLCS is going to be getting underway here later tonight. Phillies and D-backs. Meanwhile, in Padre land, obviously, there's not a whole lot going on. Just pretty much waiting for this postseason to end, so that we can really get going here in the off season. Monday through Friday, I have been doing player reviews, and I started that last week. And so I'm going to be continuing to do that. For the most part, I think all of my shows actually so far for the player reviews this season have been single players: Darvish, Cronenworth, Musgrove, Manny. I think those were the four that I've done so far. But today is going to be the first one where there's going to be multiple players. In fact, four guys: Steven Wilson, Ray Kerr, Luis Garcia, and Jose Espada. And we'll just, continue to move through this player review list here. This that I have. It's a pre kind of determined list, just because I want to make sure that I get to all these players. So if you're waiting on someone like Juan Soto or Fernando Tatis Jr., I will definitely be getting to them. I'll tell you that those will probably be the two last ones that I do. But right now we're going to be focusing on the bullpen here, these at least these four relievers today. And also, as always, for anyone that is here for these morning live shows, just if you have comments, thoughts on the Padres, questions, anything, feel free to put them in the chat. If you use that super chat button, I greatly appreciate that, and I will get to all of those. Also, if you're watching on replay, there's the super thanks button as well. And then at the end, I can hit on some other San Diego sports stuff. If you missed my San Diego State football video, San Diego Wave, San Diego Loyal, pretty good San Diego sports weekend. So talk about that there at the end. But let's get started here. Starting off with Steven Wilson and Ray Kerr. Season reviews for them. Steven Wilson finished with a .4 fWAR, 52 games, 53 innings, a 3.91 ERA, 1.170 WHIP, 57 strikeouts, 27 walks. Ray Kerr, .1 fWAR, 22 games, 27 innings, a 4.33 ERA, 1.259 WHIP, 35 punchouts, and 9 walks. Steven Wilson, I don't think he had as good of a season, or at least the eye test, not looking back at numbers right now, but just eye test wise. I don't think that he had as good of a season as he did in 2022. But he's someone that can fill multiple roles with this Padres bullpen. And it sucked that he had the injury, which, shortened the season for him. And so hopefully he is going to be good going into 2024. But this is someone that, 2022, right? If we go back to last year, he came on strong. And I didn't really know a whole lot about Steven Wilson, to be honest. I don't think that a lot of Padres fans knew a whole lot about Steven Wilson. But he pitched really well, gained Bob Melvin's trust, the coaching staff's trust, and he put himself in the situation where he was pitching in some better spots, some higher leverage situations. And he got some of those opportunities this year. And he hit some rough patches. Now, in a 3-month span from May to the end of July, if we want to look on some positives of Steven Wilson's year, had a 1.24 ERA in those months. Opponents hit 185 off of Wilson in 2023. So it doesn't look like it didn't look like his performance was that bad. I think this was kind of like with Musgrove, right? With the IL, and maybe he wasn't fully healthy at the beginning, especially. Wilson, he was on the IL multiple times, missed a few weeks with the pectoral strain, ultimately had a season come to an end at the end of August when he had the left hip inflammation. And that was just another blow to this Padres team, right? Because Steven Wilson is one of those guys where he feels like he's a reliable guy. I know it's been not a long track record in San Diego, obviously, with Steven Wilson, but it feels like he's one of those guys that he can pitch high leverage, he can pitch low leverage, like someone that he can come in and be impactful for this Padres team. I think that the injuries had to have played a factor for Steven Wilson in his season. And I don't know about you guys, but in 2022, like the fastball impressed me. The fastball, um, it was getting by guys. And this season, I'm not saying it wasn't getting by guys, but maybe guys were adjusting to that because they had seen Steven Wilson more. Um, Let me look up Steven Wilson's his numbers here on Baseball Reference. I want to dive a little bit into his not advanced numbers, but numbers beyond just like ERA, FIP, stuff like that. Let's see. This is what I want. So opponents again hitting 185 off of him in 2023. The walk rate was up. The exit velocity was up. He was getting a little bit more ground balls, about the same amount of fly balls. And then if we go to Baseball Savant and check out Steven Wilson, let's see, waiting for this to load. Still waiting. So you go look at his Baseball Savant. It doesn't really look that bad. I mean, there's not a lot of chase rate, ground ball rate, first percentile. So not a whole lot of ground balls, but there's a lot of red on here. And that's what you want in Baseball Savant. Like you want to be in the red because that means that your numbers in those certain categories are great, really good. So what I'm seeing here from Steven Wilson, not a lot of hard hit balls off of him. xERA, I think that means like field or park adjusted ERA, I think. 81st percentile, hard hit percentage, 85th percentile, extension, 91st percentile. The walk rate, like maybe that got him into a little bit of trouble. Probably want that to be a little bit down. But for me, with Steven Wilson this season, I immediately think about the injuries. Like, man, if he would have been able to stay fully healthy, and you could say this about a lot of guys, not just on the Padres, but in Major League Baseball. But if he would have been able to stay healthy, who knows what would have happened? Because if Steven Wilson was healthy, then are the Padres forced to rely on some other guys in the bullpen that weren't able to come through in certain spots? Like it just gives Bob Melvin another good option. And that definitely doesn't hurt when the bullpen was a little bit shaky during times this season, right? Okay, moving on to Ray Kerr. So Ray Kerr, obviously not a big sample size, 22 games. Steven Wilson had 52 games, and that was even with the injuries. Ray Kerr with 22 games, 4.33 ERA. With Ray Kerr, for me, there's certain things with not just pitchers, but with players overall, that there's one thing that kind of sticks out immediately when you mention their name, you look back on a season. And for Ray Kerr, it was just how many times he was called up and sent down, up, down, up, down. He was called up from AAA El Paso 5 different times. So I think it probably was pretty hard for him to really get comfortable in the big leagues and what his role was going to be. Now, he was still able to give the Padres more than just a handful of 2-inning outings. Like, I think he was pretty valuable there, sometimes in mop-up duty. And when he is able to show, like he did this season, that he can go multiple innings, he can go one inning at times, that makes him more valuable to this team. And I think that allows Bob Melvin, Ruben Niebla, the Padres to trust Ray Kerr more. And we know that with the Padres payroll probably going down, having someone like Ray Kerr, who's inexpensive, not going to cost a lot of money. Maybe have him at the back, I should say, like the bottom of the bullpen, in certain spots. I think that's a positive thing to have if you're the San Diego Padres. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Ray Kerr can do in 2024 for this Padres team. I'm interested to see if he gets more of a role for this Padres team. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there with Ray Kerr. The negatives, on Gaslamp Ball, I've been doing the season reviews for these players, and if you read those, you'll see positives, you'll see negatives. Negatives for Ray Kerr, I mean, like, it's hard for me to be pinpointing negatives for Ray Kerr just because I want to see him, like, have a real role for this Padres team if he does have it next year before I really start getting into, okay, can this guy do this? Can this guy not do this for this Padres team? So we'll see what happens in 2024 with Ray Kerr. Now, getting on to Luis Garcia, Jose Espada. I'll talk about Espada for like probably 30 seconds to a minute here in a little bit because there's just not a whole lot to talk about with him because we didn't really see him at the big league level. But with Luis Garcia, he finished his year with a .1 fWAR despite pitching in 61 games. So he had plenty of time to increase his value for this Padres team. 61 games, 59 and 2/3 innings, 4.07 ERA, a 1.391 WHIP, 53 punch-outs, 24 walks. Now, looking at his game logs, right? Like, if I was going to go to Luis Garcia's baseball reference page, he is a free agent, so it is going to be interesting to see if the Padres want to bring him back. How much are they willing to give him if they're going to try to bring him back? But this year, like, I think a lot of Padres fans aren't fans of Luis Garcia, and I understand it. Like, yeah, we could have someone else better in here. But if you go look at his game logs, yes, there are some games where he gives up 4 runs, like April 4th against Arizona, or 5 runs, April 21st, again, against Arizona. I guess doesn't like facing Arizona sometimes. 4 runs allowed at Cincinnati on July 1st, even though they won that game. Let's see. Yeah, those are the big blow up outings. But if you look at the outings in between that, like, let's go from the April 4th outing against the D-backs where he gave up 4 runs. And then the 5-run outing, you look at the outings in between, which is 6 appearances there in April, and he gave up 1 run in those 6 appearances. Then let's go to the next gap, right, between those big outings, okay? The April 21st outing, let's go there. Let's start starting April 25th because that was the next outing after that. April 25th to the next 4-run outing, which is July 1st. So June 29th was the outing before that. So between blowups is what I'll call it there. He had a 2.04 ERA, allowed 4 earned runs in 17 and 2/3 innings, 19 games. Like, that's not bad. I don't think that's terrible. Opponent's OPS was 587, which good OPS is like 700, 800, and then great is obviously more than that. So when I'm looking through these game logs, result-wise, earned run-wise, like, it doesn't look that bad. And so right now, I don't see Luis Garcia returning to the Padres because with the Padres trying to turn payroll, I think that a team will be willing to give him probably, it might not be a multi-year deal, but a 1-year deal and give him more than now, what is that? What did Luis Garcia, let me see what Luis Garcia made in 2023 for the Padres. What was it? 3.5? Well, he was on the 2-year, $7 million deal, I think, right? So that's why this was his last year under contract. Yeah, 2-year, $7 million contract that he signed going into last season. So he was making, well, it says adjusted salary was 3.75 mil. 3.5, 3.75 mil, whatever you want to say. So will the Padres be willing to give him 4 million, 5 million, whatever he might command? I think another team would be willing to give him that. Where with the Padres, it feels like with the bullpen, if they think that they can pinch, what's the saying? Pinch pennies, the phrase. If they feel like they can do that anywhere in the bullpen, I think that they're going to want to do that because, at least I hope, I don't think this team wants to get rid of Juan Soto. I don't think they want to get rid of some of these bigger contracts. I think they want Nick Martinez back. I think they want Waka and Lugo back. I don't know if all three are going to come back, but I think that they want those guys back. So you want to have the payroll go down. Is there someone out there? Is there someone in your minor league system that you can bring up that can do what Luis Garcia did in 2023? And I think a lot of Padres fans would say yes. So you could save $4 million or almost $4 million there for your 2024 payroll. Are you willing to do that with Luis Garcia? And Luis Garcia, you might not even be, you may be helping yourself because Garcia could get, I don't know, 5-6 mil on a 1-year deal from someone. And because all it takes, it's one team. It's all it takes is one team to do that. Would the Padres give him that? I don't think that they would. So I don't know. I don't. Maybe I'm overrating Luis Garcia. Maybe I'm thinking that another team is going to really like Luis Garcia and take that risk because they did see some things that they liked. Just from the eyeball test, I know I was talking about that earlier. With Luis Garcia, I think that he needs to pound the strike zone a little bit more. For me, watching games with Luis Garcia, it was inconsistency. So we'll see if the Padres bring him back. If they don't, I don't think that it will be like this huge void in the Padres bullpen. Like, again, his impact. I know fWAR, WAR, whatever you want to use, it's not everything, but it is something, and it was 0.1. I think you can get that from maybe even Ray Kerr. You could get that. I know Garcia's a righty and Kerr's a lefty, but you can get that from probably a minor leaguer. You could get that from someone from maybe overseas. I don't know. But it feels like someone much cheaper than what Luis Garcia might get in free agency on a 1-year deal. They can replace Luis Garcia's production. And then Jose Espada, between the minors and the majors this year, 2.81 ERA. WHIP was just below 2, so obviously want to get that down. 44 walks on the year in 35 games. So, yeah, that's not great. But I don't really have a ton to say about Jose Espada other than maybe that's a guy that will get more time next year in 2024 because he'll be on a very cheap salary, obviously, because he's just getting to the big leagues. I think he only pitched once this season, and I think it was the last home game of the Padres season. So, like, I'm not gonna sit here and give you 10 minutes on Jose Espada because, frankly, I just don't know a ton about him. And he has a $720,000 salary, so that's nothing for the Padres. And if he has a good spring training, then maybe he finds himself on the very edge of the Padres roster, or because I think Morejon, we'll see if they even tender a contract to Morejon. But I'm thinking someone like Morejon obviously would have the edge over Espada to maybe make the roster, guys like that, Ray Kerr. So we'll see what happens with Espada, probably just in AAA again. And there were injuries, obviously, so that's why he got an opportunity. They were at expanded rosters in September. So for me with Espada, it's more of wait and see. Wait and see if he even gets any bigger role in 2024 with the Padres. All right, so that's the player review portion of the show for Steven Wilson, Ray Kerr, Jose Espada, Luis Garcia. Now I'm going to get to the chat. Any comments, any questions, feel free to put those in the chat, and I will get to those after this break. I want to tell you about the best and easiest way to play fantasy sports. It's Underdog Fantasy. They have great pick'em games and best ball tournaments. In pickup games, just pick higher or lower on 2 to 5 players' stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. You can go cross-team, cross-league, and even cross-sport. Best ball revolves around the draft, which is what every fan loves the most about fantasy, and it eliminates the hassle of having to manage your roster all season long, resulting in a fun and easy fantasy product. How does it work exactly? You enter a contest where you participate in a snake draft against other users. That lineup that you drafted competes against every other draft in the entire contest. The better the combined performance of your team, the more money you win. After your lineup is all played, Underdog will take the best performing players and automatically set them as your starting lineup. That's it. No waivers, no trades, no worrying about who to start or sit. After you complete your draft, your part is done. Underdog Fantasy offers best ball in a variety of ways, including daily contests, weekly contests, playoff contests, and season-long contests. You can either enter into these and compete against thousands of other entrants for huge prizes, or, if you'd like, you can enter into a private draft with friends and family to compete for a smaller prize pool. Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. Sign up now by clicking the link in the description or by using the promo code TALKINGFRIARS, and you'll double your first deposit up to $100 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit of $10 or more. So if you deposit $100, you get $100 free. If you deposit $10, you get $10 free. All right, let's get to what some people in the chat are talking about here. Greasy Strangler says Garcia trash. Devin says Steven Wilson was overall solid. Kerr has potential. Espada, same with Kerr, has potential. Garcia flat out stinked. I mean, watching the games, yes, it looked like Garcia stunk. And so that's why I definitely see like Padres fans being super frustrated with Luis Garcia. But I think that's because like those big blow up outings are sticking in people's heads. But when you go back and look at like the results and the game logs, I don't think it looked that bad. So that's why, and I think a lot of Padres fans will be happy about this. I think Padre fans won't have Luis Garcia pitching for their team in 2024 because I think there'll be another team that will see these numbers and they'll be like, hey, let's take a flyer on Luis Garcia and give him more than what maybe the Padres are offering, or maybe the Padres don't even show interest, but we'll see. Like, we'll see what happens in the offseason, obviously, and if there's interest in the Padres in bringing Luis Garcia back. Maybe there's some part of the Padres thinking that, hey, maybe there won't actually. Now, I'm talking about maybe. I'm not saying there's going to be a super strong market for Luis Garcia. Don't get me wrong, but all it takes is that one team to believe, like, hey, we see something here, and we can get something out of them more than what the Padres got, at least in 2023. I thought Garcia pitched better and was pretty good for the Padres in 2022. And you know, there were some times where I thought he actually pitched well this season. So, yeah, with Garcia, I'm not going to be like pissed off if he's not on the Padres next year. I'm not saying like I want him back, but I won't be like pissed off either way. You know, like good 2022 for Garcia, I thought was in some high leverage situations. This year, I thought it was a little bit disappointing, took a step back. And now he's a free agent. And the Padres, they're looking to trim the payroll a little bit. Like, that doesn't really match up for me, at least with Luis Garcia coming back. And how much years he has in the big leagues. Usually, the more years that you're in the big leagues for, usually you get, even if it's a one-year deal, you're going to get millions of dollars either way. So, even for like, what, Adam Engel got $1 million from the Padres, right? Matt Carpenter got a 2-year deal. Like whoever it is, and I know it's a different position, but really whoever it is, you're gonna get millions of dollars. And would the Padres rather have someone come in making 700,000, 720,000, whatever the rookie minimum is? Have that person? Do they think that person can replace Luis Garcia's production? If they do, they probably should go that route then, because Luis Garcia they'd have to give him millions of dollars, right? And so every little chance that they can get to trim that payroll in spots that aren't like the big guys, I think that they should do that. Okay. Jennifer says Garcia gotta go. Wilson will bounce back. Yeah, I think so too. I think a big thing is the health. Devin says Garcia's contract is over, so happy it's over, and hopefully he goes somewhere else. Boogeyman, Garcia has to go no matter what. Bob and AJ won't let them go, though. We all know that. But they're free agents, so or not they are. Garcia is a free agent. So the Padres don't even have to be in contact with him at all this offseason if they don't want to. Oh, that's cool. Thanks, Jennifer, for still watching. She's saying she's watching from Georgetown, Texas. See, I know Georgetown, the college in what, DC? I did not know that there was a Georgetown, Texas, but I appreciate that. Says she grew up in East County. Awesome. Boogeyman says, I just want to see how Merrill does with the Padres. Yeah, but I just don't know. I don't know when that time is going to be right for the Padres to bring Jackson Merrill up. Is it going to be right out of the get-go next year? I don't think so. Is it going to be in the second half of 2024? Is it going to be in September of 2024? I don't know. Like, he's performing, I think, pretty well. I'm not watching every Jackson Merrill game, but it seems like he's performing pretty well in Double-A. Is this a situation where the Padres want to bring up everyone? Because if you notice with Double-A, they have a lot of their big prospects are all there together. Snelling, Merrill, Salas, Martorella. I think Jacob Marcy is there as well. He's playing in the Arizona Fall League. Graham Pauley, I believe, is there. So, like, they've got a lot of their core guys. Iniarte's there. Mazur's there. A lot of guys are with San Antonio. So is this a situation where they want to bring them all up to AAA at the same time, and then they can be together in 2025 or whenever they come up in the big leagues together? Is this where they want to keep that core together, but they know that Merrill's ready, so they bring him up and keep everyone else where they're at? Is this where they have Merrill start the season next year in AAA, see him play a full season in AAA before bringing him up? And I think that a lot of this is going to be dictated on what the roster looks like, because Manny's here, Bogarts is here. Is Cronenworth going to be here? Don't know. I think he's going to be here. I think there's a greater probability of Kim being dealt than Cronenworth being dealt, especially because of the contract that Cronenworth is under. If those four infielders are still here, and the Padres probably should bring in someone that is like an actual first baseman that preferably has some power, then Merrill doesn't make sense even more so to come up to the big league roster anytime soon, because you'd have Manny, you'd have Kim, you'd have Bogart, you'd have Cronenworth. That's four guys for three spots in the infield. Maybe they try Cronenworth, as a utility guy. You have a first baseman if you're not just having Bogarts go play first or having Croney play first base again. Merrill, he hasn't played. I think he's played maybe a couple games in the outfield in the minors. I think he maybe did that like once or twice. I remember reading that on social media, I think, during this past minor league season. I'm actually gonna double check that right now, just to see. Let me look this up. Jackson Merrill. I want to say he played. I forget what position it was, but I think he played the outfield for at least one game. I think I remember seeing that. Was it left field? Oh, it's not even going to say the position. On Baseball Reference, it's not even pulling up the position that he was playing. So let me try Jackson Merrill, MILB.com, and let's see if that'll come up at all. Defensively, yes, he played left. Okay, he played left field for 5 games. So that brings me to, like, with Merrill, infield, it doesn't seem like it makes sense for 2024 right now, especially early on in the season. So if they think that Merrill is ready offensively, we know the outfield situation. You could, if you find a trade for Trent, I think some team would be willing to take him on because of his glove and the power potential, try to fix him for a couple years because he's still under contract, I think, for this year, or this coming season, and then 2025. You're not going to get a whole lot back, but you could move Tatis to center, or maybe you try Merrill in center and you have Tatis stand right. Soto, hopefully he stays. Padres don't trade him. He's in left. Or does Soto go to right? Tatis goes to center. Merrill goes to left. Merrill and right. I don't know. Crony, utility. Does he play some outfield? That hasn't been mentioned. I haven't seen that mentioned. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if something sticks really. But yeah, with Merrill, it just feels like, with the Bogarts contract, the Cronenworth contract, Kim's still here and really helping the team, obviously, coming off of 2023. So I just don't really see a spot. With Merrill, this is not a guy that you bring up to have him sit on the bench, right? If you're going to bring him up, you want this guy playing every day, right? Or else you're just wasting his service time when he's making like no money and he could be a real impact player. Look at what is Evan Carter, I think is his name, with the Texas Rangers. Look at what he's doing in the postseason. Like Merrill could be that type of guy. I just don't want them to waste him at the big league level if there's not a spot, if it doesn't fit, right? So get him playing time in AAA. Maybe I think he would, probably try him in AAA, see what happens. And give him those big league spring training, a lot of opportunities there, a lot of playing time like he had last spring training. I know he got that a lot because of the WBC and some guys were away, but give him that time, give him playing time and see what happens. I just don't see that positional fit right now with Jackson Merrill on the roster right now. Jennifer says Kerr has potential. I think he does. I think we could see more of him next year. Devin says, I want to see more of Kerr. He could be like Hader, except Kerr is willing to give you more than 3 outs. I don't see Ray Kerr being Josh Hader. Like being the closer of the Padres. I mean, not next year for sure. I mean, maybe years down the road, but I think the Padres want to see someone maybe like Kevin Kopps end up being in that role. There's probably some other guys that, real Padres prospect people would point to over Ray Kerr. I think Ray Kerr, you could see him be like a Tim Hill maybe at some point. Like, and I don't know if it's a guarantee that Tim Hill comes back because he's, I think, in his final year of arbitration. And what's that going to cost the Padres? Is that $3 million? Is that $4 million? Is that more than that? I don't know. And do the Padres feel like someone can replace? Do you think that Ray Kerr can handle that elevated role and take on that prime lefty reliever in the Padres pen role? I think it would help to add in another lefty in the bullpen from free agency or with a trade or something. You can't rely on Adrian Morejon. You just can't do it. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if Kerr gets more action. Devin asks, will you discuss Blake Snell's season, Ben? Yes. Player reviews for all of those guys. Yep. Snell, the rotation, bullpen. I think it's pretty much everyone that ended the season on the roster. And then guys that were hurt as well, like Musgrove, Cronenworth, like I've already done. By the way, for podcast audience, YouTube audience, I do have a playlist on the Talking Friars YouTube channel. You can go look at that, where just go to playlists and you look at, I think it's labeled season reviews or player season reviews, something like that. And you'll be able to see the player reviews that I've done so far. Also, will you do a specific video about bringing him back because there's some traction about it on social media? Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to talk about that for sure. And maybe I'll do a whole show on that, or that'll be a main topic once we get going in the off season. In the off season. Right now, I just want to do like player reviews and answer any questions, stuff in the chat. But yeah, we'll definitely be discussing Blake Snell and a bunch of guys in the off season for sure. Jennifer says we need Cooper for first. I don't think he would cost too much, but I think it wouldn't be the worst option. But maybe the Padres are going to try to aim higher than that. But then that would mean that you're probably giving multi-year deals to guys. Do you want to do that? Or maybe they find someone in a trade that we're not really thinking about. Devin says, I think the Phillies might win the World Series. They should probably be... They're the favorites in the NLCS over the Diamondbacks. I know that. The Rangers look really good. I'd still go with the Phillies, though. So, yeah. Right now, I would say the Phillies are going to win it. But this Astros series is long from over. And the D-backs, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? If Gallen and Merrill Kelly shove and Phillies have a couple bad nights, and then that series could be, 2-1, 2-2, going into the middle of that series, and who knows what the heck's going to happen there in those final games. Devin asked, what do you think of Alyssa Nakken from the Giants to be the first woman manager? I'd love it. Why not? Like, there's some guys that don't have big league playing experience and they were successful managers. They got an opportunity to manage. So for anyone that wants to have that excuse and be like, that's why she shouldn't manage, that's BS to me. I think that's just you. And I'm not talking like this audience. But if you think that Nacken can't manage in the big leagues, she already has respect from players in the Giants organization. Like, that's been talked about. So throw that excuse, throw that reasoning out the window, throw the non-playing out the window. If she can help those players and she's the best person to lead that organization, then yeah, she should get that opportunity. And I think this would be really cool if that were to happen for Alyssa Nacken to be the first woman manager. And what I'll say about that is it's about time, because I don't really care. And if this was the Padres, I'd say the same thing. Like, I like having Bob Melvin as the manager, but especially for, teams that don't have that like real vet manager and they fire someone, at least having the willingness to interview women candidates, that is what I want. I don't want people just to think of that and think of the woman candidate and close the door on it because it's a woman. Like, no, if that person can help the organization and that's the best person for the job, I don't care if it's a female. I don't care if it's a male. I want the best person, the best communicator, the best leader, the best manager, period. That's what I want. And if the Giants feel like it's not her at this moment, then okay. But I like that at least they're giving her the chance. They're giving her the opportunity. And then, yeah, Kim Ng recently parted ways with the Marlins. Jeff Passner is reporting this morning that they wanted to put a president of baseball operations over Kim Ng after this was her first year, right? First or second year. Might have been her first year. As the GM of the team, led the Marlins to the postseason. I get it's an expanded postseason, and there were teams that collapsed, and Padres, Mets, failures this season, and the Cardinals, and all that. Like, they got a little bit of help, but I mean, that was impressive what the Marlins did this season. And to put a president of baseball ops over her, I think that's pretty disrespectful to Kim Ng. I don't understand why you would put a president of baseball operations over Kim Ng. Oh, third year, Devin. Okay, my bad. Still, like, she just put the Marlins in the postseason. And to put a president of baseball operations over her, who are you going to get? Unless it's like Theo Epstein. Sorry. Who are you going to go get to put over her and be like, yeah, that's clearly the better person to put over Kim Ng? Like, I don't understand that. And so for Kim to part ways, because the Marlins picked up the mutual option, Kim didn't pick up hers, and I totally understand why. And so I respect Kim's decision there to not continue to work for an ownership group that clearly didn't believe in her enough. I know they picked up the mutual option, but if they wanted to bring a president of baseball operations in over her, why? I don't understand that. And I'm not close to the Marlins. I don't follow the Marlins every day, but that doesn't make sense to me. That just doesn't make sense. I see some in the chat here. Billy Beane, great president of baseball operations for the Marlins. Yeah, but why? I don't see that. I haven't heard any rumors about Billy Beane. And he stepped away from the A's because I think he's like stepping away. Not stepping away from I think he's still helping the A's, but I don't think he wants to be as the president of baseball operations for a team anymore. And why would he want to do it for the Miami Marlins? Like, I just don't see that. The Marlins, they're not a team that is like this huge payroll team and would give him way more resources than he had with the A's. Like the Marlins, I mean, yeah, I don't see Billy Beane as even a possible candidate for that. I'm just confused by the Marlins wanting a president of baseball operations over someone that took you to the postseason this year when you're the Miami Marlins. I just don't get that. So hopefully the Padres can go hire her as the GM. Now, Preller would be the president of baseball operations over her, so she's not going to want to do that. So I don't think it's going to happen. But I'd love to have Kim Eng as a part of the organization. Again, it goes back to like I was talking about here a few minutes ago. If she's the right person to do it, I don't care if you're a female or a male. If you know what you're talking about, you know what you're talking about. So, and I think the Red Sox, I would not be surprised if the Red Sox end up hiring her as their new chief baseball officer. That's the title that that's the title they gave Chaim Bloom. So, chief baseball officer. I would not be surprised if Kim Eng ends up getting that job there. All right, quickly going to some San Diego sports stuff from over the weekend. I did make separate videos from all these topics, but just real quick for the podcast listeners, for the YouTube audience that missed those, you can go check those out on the YouTube channel. But San Diego State, they got a win over Hawaii. Finally, they were able to win a game. They are now 3-4. They lost 4 games in a row. So it was their first win in a while. They were coming off the bye week, and they were able to get a 10-point lead late, and that kind of secured it there. And now they're going to be facing Nevada at Snapdragon Stadium this coming weekend. So we'll see if they can, start to get on a winning streak here and dig themselves out of the hole that they created. San Diego Loyal, they went up to Las Vegas, got a win there. Toomey Mashabon scored. Adrian Perez scored. The supporters for San Diego Loyal, they went up there and made some noise down the left field line. Yes, I say left field line because they were playing at the Las Vegas minor league team's ballpark, I believe. So they get the win over Las Vegas Lights, and now they will have a playoff match next Sunday, the 22nd, against Phoenix Rising. San Diego finished third in the West this regular season with 57 points and Phoenix 48 points. So a home playoff match for San Diego Loyal. You can get your tickets if they're still available. I think they are online on their website. So can't wait to be watching that on Sunday. And then San Diego Wave, they won the NWSL Shield, which was an amazing moment. Over 30,000 fans. And I'm going to keep saying this. I've probably said this before. I know it's San Diego State Stadium, but it's really the Wave Stadium. San Diego State doesn't have 30,000 plus people showing up to their games. San Diego Wave does. San Diego Wave made the postseason last year. They're making the postseason, obviously, this year. And they win the Shield, which is, for anyone that doesn't know, you win the regular season. You're the best regular season team, best regular season record, most points in the table, and you win the Shield, which in soccer, it means a lot. Now, in other sports, fan bases, they don't care. But in soccer, it really shows who is the most consistent team, sometimes the most depth. I think San Diego Wave has the best keeper in the league. They obviously have Alex Morgan, Naomi Gurma, Casey Stoney, a great head coach, and Jill Ellis and Molly Downton, being the GM. They've got a very good system going there, a very good core in this organization that I'm proud to be a part of. So the job's not finished. Jane Shaw, Alex Morgan, they scored yesterday, and it was very fitting for those two to score. It was fitting for Kaylin Sheridan to have a clean sheet, and they have not lost a match in their last 3 matches, and now they will await the winner of OL Reign and Angel City. That is the first round match that is coming up this coming weekend. Winner of that faces San Diego on November 5th. November 5th at Snapdragon Stadium. I believe the game is going to be at 6. It's the second game. Portland is the first semifinal match on that day. The second one is San Diego's match. And then if they win that, they advance to the NWSL Championship game, which is also in San Diego, neutral site. So if San Diego loses, it's still in San Diego, November 11th. And hopefully San Diego can win that semifinal match. So they'll have a huge home crowd advantage for the NWSL championship game there on the 11th. There's the international break, which the U.S. women's national team plays in San Diego. That is on the 29th. So San Diego's going to go 3 weeks between matches here. But that's not going to be an excuse. I think that they're going to be prepared well, and they're going to be really focused, obviously, because these are some. I mean, this is what they play for, right? Winning, and they won the Shield, and now the next thing to win is to go win the title. All right. Getting back to the chat, were there any more comments here? Devin asked, "Do you like Brady Hoke as the head coach?" Um, I'm fine with him being the head coach right now. I know he has a contract for multiple years beyond this year. Um, if there's like a younger, really good football mind out there, I would not mind a change. But I don't have like names out there to be like, gotta bring that guy in. Um, so, and I believe Brady Hoke has a big buyout. He's not making a ton of money in the Mountain West, like in comparison to other head coaches in the Mountain West, but he does have a significant buyout. I was reading that, I think, in the Union Tribune last week. So I don't think he's going anywhere unless like San Diego State really sucks here for the rest of the year. Um, I think, yeah, I just don't have a strong opinion on Brady Hoke right now. I think I got to wait for the rest of this season to play out. Now, maybe some would be like, well, why are we waiting for the rest of the season? Because they've already played the big games and they're not going to win the Mountain West this year. And as the head coach, like, look at what happened. They lost 4 games in a row. Their 4 biggest games of the year, they lost all of them. Is that maybe that some fans are like, that's all that they need to see. And okay, but I think it's more complicated than just being like, yeah, Brady Hoke needs to go, and let's bring in someone else. Who are you bringing in? There's the buyout. San Diego State, they're not Alabama. They're not Oklahoma. They're not Oregon, where there's a bunch of these big boosters that can just go pay the buyout and pay all the money. Um, they're not that. So I'm right now, I'm fine with Brady Hoke continuing to be the head coach here, and I think that he will. Hopefully, they can turn things around this season. Although, like, what is turning things around? Turning things around is making a bowl game, probably. Like, that's what that is right now. All right, that's going to do it. Talking for Hours episode 491. Thank you all for the time. I appreciate everyone who tuned in live, on replay, on YouTube, podcast platforms. I appreciate it. Reminder, you can use code Talking Friars, $20 off your SeatGeek order. BreakingT.com. They just launched their NWSL Shield San Diego Wave 2023 Shield Champions. They launched that shirt, I believe, this morning, so you can check that out if you want that. BreakingT.com, the description, or the link is in the description. Gaglione Bros, the main sponsor of the show. Website is also in the description. Great San Diego sports. They're great supporters of San Diego sports. The best garlic fries, cheesesteaks in town. They're at Snapdragon Stadium, so maybe some fans enjoyed that at the Wave match yesterday. And then FOCO. Click the link in the description for them. Some great Padres bobbleheads and collectibles there. All right, that'll do it. See everybody.